Resume.
Okay, got it. Okay, there we go. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. This is a crossover episode of Woke by Accident podcast and the Forefront Radio. Welcome to our crossover episode, AFL Levi.
Thank you so much for having me as a part of the show. Appreciate all the listeners that tune in every week to listen to Woke by Accident as well as the Forefront Radio. We're a part of the Content Creators of Color. This is season 2, where we're discussing different excellent topics, and this is being sponsored by Poddex.
Yes. And so today we have two really great topics to get into. We wanted to take a look at this matter concerning Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg was suspended from ABC's The View for 2 weeks after she came under fire for saying the Holocaust was not about race. So I wanted to get into that with you here today.
Definitely, it was a interesting clip that we saw in regards to Whoopi Goldberg, and I want to start off by saying, don't apologize for your opinions, your thoughts, your concerns as a host. If you're a host of a show, as long as you're not disparaging or discriminating against a person by their culture, you can say factual statements. You see, Whoopi Goldberg, I didn't see anything wrong with what she stated.
Okay.
Okay. But what I can say is a lot of times other cultures like to denigrate and give words that are discriminatory towards us, and we got to fall back and just take it. But no, there's no backlash with that. A perfect example is the term nigger, right? A lot of times people use that term as a byword and a proverb against black folk, right? And it's
Yes.
actually written of in the Bible. On previous episodes, we talked about the generational curses of the children of Israel, how the ancient Israelites, our ancestors, were given a promise by the Most High that if they followed what the Most High said, they would be the top nation on the earth, right? But guess what? Our people didn't want to follow those rules. So guess what he said? He said, you're going to go into slavery, and your sons and daughters are going to be given to another nation, and you're going to be called derogatory terms that are not Judah, Benjamin, Levi, your true tribal lineage. I'm going to give an example to that. In Deuteronomy 28, verse 37, it says this: And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. So now, my question is, what is a proverb? A proverb is a wise saying. For example, they'll say, if you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in a book, right?
Okay.
Now, a byword is a derogatory term that is not your true nationality. This is a prophecy that was written through Moses thousands of years before it happened. He said, you're not going to be called Judah, Benjamin, Levi anymore. You're going to be called terms such as what? Negro, colored,
Mm-hmm.
African American. These are bywords. These are words of mockery towards us. Negro. The word Negro is Spanish for black. There's no country called black, it doesn't exist. Okay? And all throughout the Bible, we read these things and we didn't put two and two together to say, wait, this is talking about us. For example, in Psalms chapter 44, right? It says the same thing. It says, Psalms chapter 44, verse 13. Verse 12, thou sellest thy people for naught, meaning what? We were sold into slavery for nothing. God allowed us to go into slavery. He said, thou sellest thy people for naught, and does not increase the wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the people, a shaking of the head among the heathen. So think about that.
Mm-hmm.
In every nation where you see black people, right, we're called terms such as black, nigger, colored. These are all derogatory terms, okay? So going into talking about this subject is very important because why should think about it? Why should Whoopi Goldberg apologize for saying that these two people are the same groups of people? You see what I'm saying? Whether it's French Caucasian, Jewish Caucasian, English Caucasian, they all derive from the Caucasus Mountain. They all derive, they're the descendants of the Edomites, the Greeks, the Romans. They're the same people.
Mm.
Now, because they discriminated on one another, now all of a sudden she's supposed to back down and say, "Oh, one group was fighting against another group, and they tried to make it some big thing like it wasn't a big deal. It
Well, I
wasn't a
guess
big
she
deal."
said it wasn't about race; it was about inhumanity. Which,
Mhm.
what Hitler did was very inhumane, but
Exactly.
it was the part about it not being about race. I guess was the trigger.
Hmm. Well, let's get
So,
into that. Let's get into
yeah,
race.
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that brings me to these books that I have. Right. Let's get into
Hmm.
race real briefly. I have a book. I have several books, by the way. You know, I like digging into history. I have a book called Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. This is written by Tudor Parfit. This is a white boy now, all right? This is a Caucasian male
Okay.
writing a book entitled Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. Now, the reason I'm bringing this book as it relates to this topic is because when we think of Jews and Judaism, right, it's like a Jedi mind trick. We think that when you say the word Jewish, it's only referring to people of Caucasian descent that proclaim the religion of Judaism. However, historically speaking, the biblical Jews of the Bible, the biblical Israelites, are a dark skinned, black, Africoid, Hebraic people.
Hmm.
Okay. So now let's read this historical book written by uh, 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 Tudor Parfit, and it was provided in Nathan Huggins' lectures, Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. I'm going to read the beginning portion, which is page, let's see where the highlight is. I'm going to read the beginning portion on page 1. Listen to this. Giordano Bruno, 1548 to 1600, who was burned at the stake in Rome. So this is during the so-called Inquisition, right? In part for being one of the first to comprehend the infinite nature of the universe, and who was not therefore the least observant of men, suggested as far back as 1591 that no one could possibly imagine that Jews and blacks have the same ancestry. Hold up, wait a minute, hold up, wait a
Mm.
minute. This person from back in 1591 said Jews and blacks have the same ancestry. So, what is he trying to say? The Jews are black.
Mm.
The Jews are black.
Okay.
Since 1500, this is before we went into the transatlantic slave trade.
Hmm.
Here's another quote, page 5. This is a historian. He says this: the idea that Jews were black persisted into the 19th century. Robert Knox, 1791 to 1862. That's when we were literally on cargo slave ships, shackled up, not being able to read nor write, withholding from information. And just like we read in the Bible prophecy, that's when they stopped calling us the Jews. Now they started calling us Negro. Now they started calling us nigger. Now they were starting to call us colored. So watch this. He says the idea that the Jews were black persisted, meaning it was already well known back then before we was in slavery,
Hmm.
into the 19th century. That's the 1800s. For those that don't know, the 19th century is referring to the 1800s. The controversy, the controversial surgeon and anatomist, so this is a scientist, and conservator of the College Museum in Edinburgh in the mid 19th century commented. Now, here's the quote: the African character of the Jew, the African character of the Jew, his muzzled shaped mouth and face removing him from other races. The general look, meaning how they appear, their appearance, right? The
Okay.
general look of the Jew was considered to be like that of the black.
Hmm.
So this
So,
author is saying the Jews are black. You
comparing, for
know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
then here's continuing on with the quote. It says, the contour is convex, the eyes long and fine, the outer angles running towards the temples, the brow and the nose apt to form a single convex line, and the whole physiognomy I'm sorry, the whole physiognomy, I'm sorry, I can't even say the word again, physiognomy, when swarthy is another word for black, as it is often is, has an African look. 19th century physical anthropologists in general assumed that Jews had a close racial, that is, blood connection with blacks. The general consensus of the ethnological literature of the late 19th century was that the Jews were black. You see that? And
Mm-hmm.
another quote,
Mm-hmm.
same book, page 6. It says, in some cases, Jews were considered black because they were mixed of an African Judaic race. Come on now, get a white boy out of that. And this is a Caucasian male now that
Mm-hmm.
created this book called Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. So if you're
Wow.
hating on Whoopi Goldberg, right, saying
Yeah.
that she's anti-Semitic, you big dummy, she is a Semitic because this history book is telling us that the Jews are black.
Right. And I did Google. I did look up that does she practice the Jewish faith, and she does. So yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
And here's the thing, I got way more books too. You know what I'm saying? I got way more
Mm-hmm.
books. I got a book right here, right? Let's get into it. I got a book called Modern Judaism, right? That
Okay.
talks about the origins of the people that call themselves Jewish, okay? And this is produced by John Allen. The book was written around, let's see here. Let's see when this book was written. This book was written in 1830. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
1830. Watch this. Page 231 and 232 goes into the history of Caucasian peoples. All right. Watch this. Esau's descendants are the subjects of extensive traditions in which the rabbis, with an effrontery at which we should wonder in any other men. So they're literally talking about now the Caucasian races. Okay. This is John Allen, a Caucasian male, talking about his people. Watch this. He says that the descendants of Esau, the sworn enemies of the descendants of Jacob, even to the end of the world, were at first a small nation inhabiting Mount Seir and the adjacent country contiguous to the land of Canaan, that they were easily confined within their own limits as long as the Israelites enjoyed a great and formidable empire in Canaan, but that after the powerful republic of the 12 tribes was destroyed by the Assyrians and Babylonians, they wonderfully increased in numbers and strength, extended their dominion towards the west. Now, pay attention to this, spread their colonies far and wide, subjugated Italy, that's the Italians, right? Founded Rome and the Roman Empire, at length entirely overturning the Jewish state, which had been restored after the termination of the Babylonian captivity. So think about this for a second. The Edomites, right? The Caucasians, they're the Romans, right? They went into Northeast Africa and conquered the people that we know of as the Black Hebrews, the Jews, right? Then it
Okay.
says this. Then it says this. It says, the second temple being destroyed by Titus Vespasian, and that at the present day professing the religion of Jesus of Nazareth. So what did they do? They had a white man portray himself now as Jesus the Christ. Prior to that, it was well known that the Jews were black, that Christ came from the tribe of Judah, and that who we call Jesus the Christ was historically a black man, a black male figure. Okay. So now this religion was formed by the Roman Empire, the same empire that's in control of the Roman Catholic Church. They were the ones that crucified this black man, lynched him on a cross. Okay. And then created a religion where they whitewashed his image and gave us the image that we see now today as the image of Jesus Christ. But wait, there's more. Watch this. It says, professing the religion of Jesus Christ, which they were the first of all nations to embrace, they hold dominion over all Europe. So the people that we call French Caucasian, Polish Caucasian, German Caucasian, British
Okay.
Caucasian. These all have the sway over Europe. They're the ones that this book is saying are the descendants of Esau. They're the Edomites of the Bible. Okay. Watch this. It says, they hold the dominion over Europe, Esau detaining in captivity his brother, Jacob. So now think about this for a moment. This book is telling you that Esau had his brother Jacob, whose name is Israel. Esau had Israel in captivity. So now my question for you, Jen, is if Esau is the peoples of Europe, right? Then who's
Right.
Jacob? Who did the Europeans put into slavery, captivity?
The Jewish or the
Think,
black
think about the
people?
part. There you now you click it on. Now you
Okay.
you
Okay.
see that? They
Okay.
don't specifically say black people in this book, but this was written when? 1830.
Mhm. Mhm.
So in
So,
1830, the Europeans were holding Jacob or Israel
or the
in
Africans rather,
captivity.
right?
The people
Right.
they call Africans, correct,
Mhm.
there you go. The people that they call Africans are really the descendants of the Jews. This is what the author is saying.
Okay.
The people that we call African, African American, Afro Brazilian, Afro Mexican, Afro Haitian, Afro Dominican, all these people that are Afro, quote unquote, Afro, they're literally saying that Esau or the Europeans detained them in captivity.
Mhm.
So that's literally telling you that the Jews are black.
Mm. Okay.
Here's more of that. Actually, we'll end that quote right there. We'll end it
Mhm.
right there because
Mhm.
that's the point that we're trying to make. That the descendants of the Europeans that are the Edomites of the Bible. So the people that call themselves Jewish, they derive from these Germanic tribes.
Right, and we were talking about that earlier. A lot of Jewish people don't see themselves as white per se. You know what I
Mm-hmm,
mean? Like,
mm-hmm,
it's a I guess it's like identity. Like, I don't identify as I'm a white. I'm gonna say it, and but in their mind, in their identity, like I'm Jewish. I'm not white. I'm
mm-hmm,
Jewish. you
mm-hmm.
know.
And it's sad to see that because they derive from the same racial origins as the other Caucasians of society, but want to separate themselves based on their religious philosophy,
Mm,
because their culture converted to Judaism. Okay,
okay.
Judaism has its roots in Africa. I'll give an
Mhm.
example. When you look far back as Moses, his first wife was a woman by the name of Zipporah.
Mhm.
He also had a wife that came from Ethiopia who's called Cush. So his kids were Cushites. His kids were the descendants of Levi mixed in with African peoples. So if that's already at the beginning of the Bible, where you got black folks, and then I'm reading other stories in Africa, for example, King Solomon describes himself in the Bible as being black, right? And that's found in Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I'm going to read it briefly, right? Think about this for a second, right? You have a group of people that basically committed identity theft because this Bible verse is saying that the king over Israel looks like this. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black but comely. This is where we get that phrase, I am black but beautiful. This is
Okay.
where we get that phrase. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black. What am I reading? The Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So when King Solomon had the Queen of Sheba come and meet him, and he gave her vast amounts of gold and resources, right? This woman came from where? Do you remember that story?
You said the Queen of Sheba?
Yeah, Queen Sheba. Where did she come from when she went to meet Solomon?
Ethiopia?
Yes, ding,
Is
ding,
that
ding, 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 ding.
okay?
You cooking with oil? Yeah, cooking with oil. She came from Ethiopia. So now my next question is Ethiopia in Russia?
No, it's in Africa.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Man, if I had some money, I'd throw some money at you because you getting it. So Ethiopia is in Africa. It's not in Poland. It's not Norwegian. It's not Scandinavian. It's not Turkish groups of people. Okay.
Right.
It's in Africa. So all throughout the Bible talks about Egypt, that's in Africa, talks about Ethiopia, that's in Africa. And then it says that the Israelites of the Bible were going to be scattered into all nations through slavery. So, Jen, what groups of people went into slavery on slave ships and had their names removed from them? They were taught different languages and they were given derogatory terms such as Negro, such as nigger. Who did that happen to? Did that happen to the Caucasian people that call themselves Jewish?
No,
Ding, ding,
it
ding,
didn't.
ding, ding. There
Right.
you go.
So,
So
yeah.
something as common sense as that, one can only conclude that historically speaking, the Jews are black.
And that because part of the criticism is that what is she said that the Holocaust was not about race. I don't know. I think her intention, like her intention just got misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they weren't even really, they were talking about a book that was banned from a school, and
Mm-hmm.
then it just got blown out of proportion, and it's just they just really isolated what she said, and it just really got blown out of proportion. But when you're dealing with ABC, she doesn't have the same freedoms that some other people that we'll be talking about have, you
Mm-hmm.
know so
Exactly. And that's strange too when that's why I say as a host you have to back up what you say by historical fact because when you're of our complexion sometimes they think that we don't have any sense in what we're talking. We know what we're talking about.
yeah.
So with Whoopi Goldberg, I say be unapologetically you. Be yourself. It's even in the Bible. Watch this. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness. The word boldness is courage, strength,
Hmm.
honor, dignity. Okay. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as had afflicted him. So we are the ones that are being afflicted. We are the ones that were put in chains and slavery. We were the ones, for example, during slavery. You ever heard that term barrel of laughs? We talked about it on the clubhouse earlier.
Yeah. Hmm.
During slavery, they forced us to stick our head in barrels if we ever laughed, to
Hmm.
muffle the sound of our laughter. That's how much enmity that they had against us, right?
Mm.
And while they were afflicting us, we couldn't say anything. But now we're standing in great boldness now to say, look, we are blessed above all nations. That's what the Bible says. We are chosen by the Creator. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says
Right.
that we are his people. If folks don't like it, to hell with them. You can't supersede God. Your arm's too short to box with him. I'm going to read it again. It says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors." This is proving to you that this is talking about us because they have never given us reparations for our labors. They have never taken account of what we did to build the world. The whole entire global structure of humanity has been established through the mechanism of slave labor.
Right.
So they gave no account for that. But guess what? There is a God. Watch this. It says, when they see it, meaning when they see our redemption, when they see our salvation, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. So when the sky crack and they find out that Jesus Christ is actually a black man, they're not gonna be wanting hugs and gumdrops, and they're gonna be scared. They're gonna be like, "Uh-oh, we enslaved his people, we we denigrated them for centuries, and now the God of creation is coming to the earth, and he looks just like them." And it says, "And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for." So, if we as a nation of people repent of our sins, walk in the ways of the Most High, these other nations, they're gonna get their due desert. They're gonna get the saying in the Bible where it says, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last."
Right. Right.
So that's my thoughts on that particular topic.
Okay. We will pivot to our next topic, which concern the matter about Joe Rogan and Spotify, and we had some top commentary from India Ree and some other artists had things to say about it too. Neil Young, Joni Mitchell. So I guess it initiated when Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, those music artists, had commented on Joe Rogan's outlandish comments about COVID or what have you. And because of that, they wanted their music pulled. And then that led to the comments about Joe Rogan, where he made these racist comments, were uncovered. And then we see this NDIRE video, and then he makes this apology. And then I think today, even there's a new yeah, he made the apology, and then they pulled back some of the episodes, but they didn't separate the relationship from him as far as Spotify's response. They just pulled back like 100 or so episodes, and I think there was a dip in the stock. And then there is I guess some gossip site says that Joe Rogan has a step half black daughter or something like that. So anyway, he made an apology. So I guess it is kind of similar to the Whoopi Goldberg matter because it's about freedom of speech. You know, obviously he's on a different platform. He has a lot more freedom and latitude on his platform, and so it looks like he's given a whole lot more grace. So what do you think about that?
That's a good point that you made about the grace, because a lot of times when we say something as a nation of people, everything we say is critiqued, criticized, overly examined, um, and mocked. People were calling for her to be fired based on her comment, and she said nothing of a derogatory nature towards anyone, you know. But Rogan himself had to apologize because he was using the N word periodically throughout all of his episodes and making a racist joke comparing black people to being Planet of the Apes.
Right.
That's overt racism. That's
Yeah,
not,
very offensive.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
not anything where, oh, you could try to interpret what he said. No, he compared an entire race of people to Planet of the Apes. I say, okay, If you want to make that comparison of Planet of the Apes, let's go there. During Planet of the Apes, if I recall correctly, the apes came and ruled over the entire planet. Is that written in the Bible? Yes, it is. Now,
Mm,
these same so called apes that are taking over the planet, these apes are going to end up in rulership over all these other nations. Is that written in the Bible? Yes, it is. Let's read it real quickly to see what God says about these so-called apes that Joe Rogan is speaking on.
mm.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 25. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. What does that sound like to you, Jen? Does that sound like those people that they call apes are going to be ruling over all nations?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continuing on, it says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of the potter shall they be broken into shivers, even as I received of my Father. So this is telling us that Christ has a kingdom to come, and in that kingdom, his people will be in a position of rulership, and all other nations are going to serve them. What does that sound like? Planet of the Apes. So thank you, Joe Rogan, for making that statement because you're proving the Bible to be a true book.
Hmm. You didn't think about it like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Here's another example. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 2, and we're going to read also Isaiah chapter 60, right? Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1 and 2. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. Jacob, his name was changed to Israel. Israel are the 12 tribes, Blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, and all of our people scattered in the Black diaspora. It says, and I will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined unto them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them in their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them. Who is the them is talking about? The other nations shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And now this is my favorite part, Jen. And they, referring to the Israelites, shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. What am I reading? The Bible. What is the comparison? It's comparing Black people to the planet of the apes. And in the planet of the apes, those apes took over and ruled over their oppressors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Joe Rogan. I appreciate your comparison because the Bible is going to come true whether you like it or not.
Oh wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Amazing. That hey, you know what's crazy about this? When people hear this, they're like, "That's shocking. You telling me Black people are gonna rule the earth?" For me, that thing make my teeth white. It make my cheeks go all the way up, like the Joker off of Batman. Because I'm like, I never knew this. They never taught me this in church. I'm gonna give one more verse going into this, and then we'll go into the video clips that we have. Right?
Okay.
Um, Isaiah chapter 60, verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So what is this saying? The Most High will have the other nations, their sons, their daughters, their kings, their priests. They're going to serve the children of Israel because God smote us during slavery by allowing us to go to captivity due to our disobedience. But then it says, therefore, thy gates shall be continually open. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. So the Gentiles are the other nations, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So play with God if you want, but this Bible says that those Planet of the Apes are going to rule over the world under Christ, the Black Messiah.
Hmm.
Facts on top of facts.
Okay. All right.
So now I have a couple of clips of the commentary. One clip is based on what India Irie commented on, and the other is from a show called African Diaspora News. So if I may, let's go ahead and play those clips. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's do that. All right. Can you see my screen? And
Yes.
that I share my audio. Let's play this.
Hey y'all, I want to leave a short message here about why I decided to ask my music be pulled off of Spotify. So check this out.
No white people. It says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I goes, is that in a good neighborhood? He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door and there was no white people. It says, okay, take.
I empathize with the people who are leaving for the COVID disinformation reasons, and I think that they should. I also think that Joe Rogan has the right to say what he wants to say. I also think that I have the right to say what I want to say. So as an artist who builds, Spotify is built on the back of the music streaming. So they take this money that's built from streaming and they pay this guy $100 million, but they pay us 0.003% of a penny. Just take me off. I don't want to generate money that pays this. Just take me off. That's where I'm at. And I know that I'm actually, to be honest with you, surprised that my statements were picked up, because I thought people weren't really going to listen to me, because that's what I'm used to from the industry. But I'm glad that I am being heard, and for that reason, I want to clarify my statements. Again, this is why. Watch this.
The nigger thing.
Yes. Saying the word nigger.
Well, you've already said nigger.
D is just like nigger. Saying nigger.
She's calling you a nigger. It's like this.
Boy, that he's a nigger, but starts calling them niggers. Word nigger. There should be a word like nigger, especially like the word nigger. That's our nigger.
About niggers.
He says nigger. Guy, a nigger. And there are niggers. Start saying nigger. Allowed to use the word nigger. Out the word nigger. See nigger. Word nigger. Say nigger, and you couldn't say nigger. And most nigger.
So we know how social media can be. Things can be doctored, people are taken out of context. It's happened to me many times. However, I want to be clear, in no uncertain terms, where I stand on this is that he shouldn't even be uttering the word. Don't even say it under any context. Don't say it. That's where I stand. It's my right to stand there. I have always stood there. I have other feelings about it, but those are nuances that are not meant for this moment. He shouldn't even be saying it. And so the confluence of energies comes into play here. So now we have this person who is offensive to a lot of people, who's paid $100 million. Spotify, the backbone of Spotify is the music. So you pay the musicians that are the backbone of your business 0.003 to 0.005% of a penny, and you take this money that you generate over here, because all the rest of it goes somewhere. The subscription fees go somewhere. So you take this money that's generated over here and you use it to invest in this guy. Do what you want, but take me off. Or pay me too. And I don't just mean me, I mean us. Artists like me, pay us too. Pay podcasters of color too.
So, what are your thoughts on that, Jen? What are your thoughts on that? And then I'll give some of my opinion on it.
Yeah, that was deep. I'm glad she spoke up on that. Like, that was deep to put him on blast, but he needs to, and that's how you make a change, by applying pressure like that. You know what I mean? And so Spotify taking down some of the episodes is one step. But we need some more steps. And we need some change. I think I saw something that the Obamas, who have a podcast associated with Spotify, is thinking of moving it or looking to move it. So that would be interesting. I would like to see other artists step up and speak out too. but I'm glad that she did, and I'm happy that she did, because this is how you make change, by putting these type of matters on blast, and because if it was the other way around, they would they definitely put us on blast. So, and definitely, we were looking to have a change be made. This is how you do it, by applying pressure like this. So,
That's a very good statement. Very, very well said statement. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. When I think about this topic, she really checked Spotify and Joe Rogan, because on one hand, he's getting paid $100 million, 100 million. And then the musicians that and podcasters that actually, are people of color like us, they are getting paid pennies on the dollar. Not even a penny. No, a fraction of a penny. 0.003% of a penny is literally slavery. That's not even minimum wage. That's not. But yo, think about it. Where's the equality in that? Should we forget American history, where they took our ancestors and caused them to work and sharecrop for pennies off a dollar? You know what I'm saying? And this dude is using literally derogatory terms, just like we read in the Bible, right? They're proving the Bible to be a true book. And I love it, because I prefer for them to show their hand, instead of trying to have this, like a good author said, passive aggressive racism that they have. I'd rather you just flat out tell me, just like former number 45, former President Trump. He was
okay,
literally calling, um, African nations such as Haitians
yeah,
and a shithole country. But hold up. You're not going to say, how did it become a shithole country? You're not going to say this was the first free black nation to establish itself against slavery.
right,
You're not going to say this was one of the richest countries in the Western Hemisphere, producing sugar cane. That's your sugar companies, your Domino, your Tropicana juices. All of this stuff comes from sugar cane. And that island, comprised of 500,000 or more black people, were the ones working. You ain't paid them for that. And then after they defeated the French, if they didn't defeat the French, right? Napoleon wouldn't have been able to sell the whole Louisiana territory. So half of the United States wouldn't exist if black people didn't overcome the French and relinquish that area. So an entire part of the continent is gained by America from a little small island of black folks that won and got their independence from slavery.
right.
So now going back to Joe Rogan, he said literally what we read earlier in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. So when he was using the N word throughout it, he was proving that the Bible is talking about us. You see what I'm saying? So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the next clip real quick.
I was sitting here thinking about the situation with Joe Rogan, and thought about Whoopi Goldberg as well. And have you noticed something? And I notice this pattern all the time. Every time somebody white get in trouble, you have all these black people running to their defense. And you see all these black people putting their reputation on the line, putting everything on the line for Joe Rogan. You see this. But now look at Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi got in trouble with them folks for saying something that she didn't disparage anybody. But where's all Whoopi's white friends putting their name on the line? Where nothing is being said. You notice when these black celebrities get in trouble, none of their white friends come out to say anything, say they're not a racist, they're not an anti-Semite or whatever they are. They leave them out there by themselves, right? I just want y'all to notice this. So why y'all black people always trying to go run and defend mass all the time, but you never defend your own? That's why we stay losing as a community.
All right, so that was a clip there from African Diaspora News Network. They talk about a lot of things that have impact our community. Jen, what are your thoughts on what he just stated?
I did see that Bill Maher did support Whoopi Goldberg. So that's one. And it's gonna be few and far between. Getting the support, but it's hard to go against, ABC. It just really is when you're on a platform like that. You like, we were talking about that demographic going with the moms, like it just really is hard. And he has a platform where he can kind of say anything, if you will. He probably has it in his contract that he kind of has like the freedom to really go crazy with it. And clearly, because those comments are old, you know what I mean? I would like to see like the timestamps on those comments, because obviously it's from several years ago, probably. Like it wasn't just yesterday or nothing, you know what I mean? And there were just someone put them together, but it was like five different occurrences. So that makes me think it's been several years that he's just been able to go ham like this. And so obviously he has the freedom to say whatever the heck he wants to. And so that's just really kind of shocking on a whole nother level. You know what I mean?
That's a good statement, and I agree with most of what you said, because when you think about it, it's like that quote that Maya Angelou said, right? She said, when someone shows, I'm paraphrasing, when someone shows you who they are, believe them, right?
Right.
And what I like about the internet is that once it's out there, you can't erase it. It's not something that you can go back and scrub. So what Spotify attempted to do was go back into some of the archives of their shows and remove some of the content that he was putting out that could put a blemish on their company, like over 100
Right. Yeah, the
episodes.
ones they pulled were supposed to be the ones that were kind of racy or what have you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Because guess what? People could go back in there and say, hey, this was the content that you had back in 2000 and such year. We're going to sue you for that, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't, most folks don't take it that far, but you get my point, you know. So yeah, uh, on another note, the part where he said how a lot of times you have certain black folks that hate their own people, right? That that will disparage their own people just to get clout with other nations. What are your thoughts on that?
this was in the Joe Rogan?
No,
Oh
the
no,
clip
for
that we
what he
just shared
said.
with, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because I guess he's saying don't look for a whole lot of people to break their neck to support, you know. And sadly, that's, I was mentioning, like it would be nice to see some other powerful voices step up and support NDIRE in this matter, or say, hey, take my music down too, or what have you.
Mhm.
And we may not see that because it's all about the money and
Mhm.
things like that. So sadly, yeah, that's probably true.
Definitely. So after since we're getting time to wrap it up, I guess, do you have any like closing remarks or anything you want to share as far as this particular topic?
No, I'd be curious to see if Spotify makes some other changes or moves with this, because their stock was affected. I think at the time that we were looking at this, it had just dipped like 17%. So I'd be curious to see if it takes a turn. So we may have another update in this matter. So yeah, we'll be watching.
Oh yeah, the internet never forgets, folks. The internet never forgets.
Right.
So I appreciate you inviting me to the show. I'm Levi, for those that are wondering, Afiel Levi, the host of the Forefront Radio. You can find the Forefront Radio on all streaming platforms. If you want to get in touch with me, you can hit me up via Instagram at the Forefront Express. We also have a website available, which is theforefrontexpress.com. On Facebook, we're the Forefront Media. And we appreciate everyone that's listening. And thank you so much, Jen, for inviting me to the show.
Definitely. We'll have those links posted, and Levi will have a visual version of this presentation. So we'll have that link posted too. So thanks you guys for listening, and thank you, Levi, for joining us today.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Thanks, and take care.